Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about compassion going outwards from a base of self-compassion. So what you discover as you practice self-compassion, is that, and I think the key here is it's the practice of self-compassion. It's not reading about it. It's not watching videos about self-compassion. It's about really doing it, getting in and discovering ourselves. And as we discover ourselves, as we actively engage in compassion towards ourselves, the more that we do this, the more we find that it's easier to begin to give compassion to others. And so why is this? Is related to this three-step process from Kristin Neff. So Kristin Neff's three-step process for self-compassion involves one, mindfulness. So starting at this base of mindfulness and being aware of what we're feeling without denial, without repelling it, without clinging to it. Can we be aware of what's going on right now? And what's that voice inside of our head like? What is, and then as we reach outwards, what is that natural first thought, that thought that we don't control? What's that thought that's coming out about that other person that we're engaging with or not engaging with? I mean, this is what's interesting about compassion in general, is that it can be ever outreaching. I end all of these practices with well wishes, and the final, the well wishes that I share with everyone and that I encourage you to participate in as well, starts at self. So we offer compassion to ourselves, then we go a little bit farther out and have compassion for everybody that's here, everybody that's practicing with us today, and then see if it's possible to offer compassion to everything, everyone, all sentient life in the world, in the universe. And the way that it's done is through this linkage and knowing that we have a lot in common with step one, every other human being. Let's not, for the purposes of today's practice, no need to go beyond that. We have so much in common with each other. And so that really is the second step of this process. So one, examine how I'm feeling and being honest about it without judging myself. What thoughts are coming up, and using monitoring of thoughts and the mindfulness of thoughts to watch the ebbs and flows of ourselves and our lives, to notice what is my tendency to be thinking right now. Am I in a worse mood today than I was yesterday? How is my opinion towards him or her, right? When I see this person, what is my initial thought, and how has that been changing over the last few days, few weeks, few months? Has my opinion of this person been ebbing and flowing as well? Am I having positive or negative thoughts about this person? And noticing patterns, because those patterns are no doubt going to come up. How do I feel about this person who's very close to me in life that I see every day? How do I feel about this person who's far away, who I tend to just, listen to the news about this person and form opinions about them? This is that first step, that step of mindfulness, to be aware of what thoughts and feelings are coming up when we consider ourselves or consider others. And so that awareness kind of tills the soil for the second step, which is common humanity. So as I recognize where I am and what my opinions are about myself and about others, I can start to recognize this common thread that we have together. And stop believing the lies that I am so different from this person. Because that is one of the things that kind of encourages this tribalism that we all experience. Is that we tend to see self and other as very clear ideas. And everything that's like self is good. Everything that's like other, or as we examine other, what becomes the loudest in our mind is often what is different. And it becomes harder and harder through focusing on those differences to see what's the same. And so that's the second step, is to intentionally acknowledge the common humanity that we have with every other human being, and maybe especially this human being that I'm having difficulty with. And as we practice compassion starting with self, you'll see that the methods that I try to share with you about compassion are, excuse me, starting with what's closest to us. Because what's closest to us, maybe except for self, self actually can be a really hard one. What's closest to us can be a lot easier to feel compassion for than what's farther away. And that's, there's a study that was done by David Eagleman. It's you can watch it. It's on YouTube. I think it's on PBS's channel, about how a single one-word label about someone, seeing that one-word label can affect how the brain processes and is able to feel empathy for that person. So when what it is that we see someone injured, right? In the study that David Eagleman did, someone gets injured, and the question is, does our mind register that? Do we feel the same pain? Do we, that's how empathy works. We literally feel the pain of another person when we see it. And this one-word label, which in this case had to do, which was religion, right? And it was fictional, by the way. It wasn't actually the religion of these people who were being injured. It was just something to see in this experiment. Can this person feel empathy and compassion for this other person? And the interesting thing was that those who aligned in religion, the empathy was significantly stronger, and those that weren't aligned, oftentimes there was nothing, that the empathy wasn't there. And so this step of common humanity, isn't just a like a little intellectual exercise. It's that, can I bring that person from my out group into my in group? And that isn't just, isn't just semantics. It really has a powerful impact to be able to see others in a similar way that I see myself. So this common humanity piece is critical to this, because the process is that empathy, as difficult as it may be, and as difficult as it may be to share the feelings of another person, or to attempt to share the feelings of another person, it's important to have that relation for us to move on to this next step, which is offer kindness. So mindfulness, step one, understanding self, understanding my attitudes towards myself and others, and doing it honestly. Step two is common humanity. Can I recognize what makes me human, and recognize that this person that I'm engaging with, I love the iPhone. Thanks, iPhone, for all the balloons. Can I recognize what it is that I have in common with that other person, and help to bring that person that's in my out group into my in group? And then step three is offer kindness, offer compassion. So what can I, how, and we'll do it today in the exercise. So what can I do to offer kindness? And so really the very first step when it comes to taking action isn't about doing anything externally. It's about this cultivation of attitude. So it's this kind of mindfulness, being aware of where we are, tilling the soil with this kind of this common humanity, linking ourselves to others, and then can we use this understanding to begin to bring compassion to others. So, hi Iga, thanks for joining. Thanks for sharing in the chat. So let's do it. I mean, that's what this is about. So this is about doing the practice. And so in the spirit of the fact that we haven't together done practices like this in a while, we'll start with bringing compassion to an external person that should be relatively easy for you to do. Okay? And so through this practice, we can start to also bring compassion out to others that are more and more challenging. So get comfortable wherever you are. You can feel free to sit in a comfortable posture. If today you'd rather lie down, just choosing whatever is going to be supportive for you. So take a moment to feel into the body. If you like, you can close your eyes. Notice how the body is breathing. Does the breath feel open and expansive? Or maybe the breath feels shallow and tight? See if you can take a few moments and intentionally expand the inhalation and the exhalation. Breathe a little bit deeper. So controlling the breath here just for a few moments at the beginning of practice to just elongate the breath, encourage a bit of relaxation in the body. And then whenever you're ready, just letting go of that breath control and coming back to the natural pace of the breath without controlling, just letting the body breathe itself. And let me invite you to take a moment to observe who it is, what version of yourself is here today. What's the state of the mind? What's the state of the body? State of the emotions? So tuning up that awareness dial, turning it all the way up so that we can truly, without judging, observe what version of me is here today. And when we begin to turn our minds towards ourselves and our feelings about ourselves, what do we see? So as we're observing self, body, mind, and emotions, so we're seeing who's here, are we having any opinions? And although the instructions were to, as best as possible, not bring judgment, are there any judgments coming up? And if there are, what are those judgments like? So let me encourage you to see if you can start to bring a sense of unconditional love towards yourself. To love yourself exactly as you are in this moment, for exactly who it is that's showing up today. To recognize that you are a human being. And like all human beings, are imperfect. Make mistakes. At times hurt others and hurt ourselves. And know that that is part of being human. That it's okay. Of course you're imperfect. And you can forgive yourself for any past wrongdoings. Any time that you may have hurt yourself or others. Now is the time to open your arms to yourself and cultivate this unconditional love. Know that now is the present. That whatever has happened in the past is already in the past. And through this self-love and understanding, we don't have to repeat our mistakes. so I can love myself exactly as I am right now. And maybe I can even commit to having this unconditional love towards myself, to being there for myself. To know that I can always support myself in difficult times. And so, if you feel comfortable to do so, just repeating this phrase, may I have the courage to love myself exactly as I am. May I have the courage to love myself exactly as I am. And so now we recognize that this human imperfection is not unique to me. That this human imperfection is something that I share with every single other human being on this planet. And that when I suffer, I can't help but let that suffering seep outwards and start to harm others. And so as we look outwards and see other humans, ponder the difficulties we have with them, we can reconnect with ourselves and realize where this suffering comes from. So much harder to be outwardly compassionate when this compassion towards self isn't there, or it's empty. So remembering as we encounter others, this common humanity that we share with them, that their suffering and their external causing others to suffer tends to come out of their own difficulties with themselves. And so is it possible to offer kindness, to reach out with compassion towards these human beings who share so much with me, who have so much in common with me? May they be free from suffering. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May they be safe. May they be peaceful. And so sometimes as we do this practice, what can be helpful is to bring a specific person into mind. And so today, let's choose someone external to us that the feeling of unconditional love comes naturally. So someone who's close to us, a good friend, cherished neighbor, a relative, could be son or daughter, mother or father, brother or sister. Someone for whom unconditional love is easy. Connecting with all of the similarities that you have with this person and your well wishes for this person, your natural feeling of wanting this person to be well, your love for them. And recognizing how naturally that comes. How easy it is for me to wish well for this person I feel close to. And so see if you can offer well wishes to them, and what does it feel like to do that? May they be happy and contented. May they be safe and protected. May they be healthy and whole. May they be at peace. May they be at ease. May they be happy and contented. And so really having that person in mind as we're repeating these phrases, really imagining this person, not getting caught up in the words, but imagining what is it like for this person to be happy and contented. Can you envision that? Can they be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm? May they be healthy and whole. May they be at peace. What is it like? What is it like to see this person being peaceful and at ease? Maybe even imagining their situation altered so that they are peaceful and at ease. And so the more we practice in this way, the more we choose someone who's close to us, as we begin to reach our compassion outward, we'll find that this practicing with someone who's close makes it easier to go a bit farther and to stretch out. And so now letting go of any imagery you may have had, And see if you can come back to mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of breath. And examine, is there some innate capacity for self-compassion inside of this observing the body and breath? And so let's close our practice now with 3 rings of the bell. Thank you. Thanks for practicing with me. Thanks for being here today. How did it go? What was it like? Was it easy? Was it hard? Did you find yourself focused? Was it harder to focus today? What was it like? Who did you choose? Maybe that's another interesting question to explore. Where did your mind go? In fact, I guess that's what I'll share with you, is that I discovered as I did that I didn't really choose. It wasn't a conscious decision about who to offer compassion to. That it was just, it's like my mind knew where to go and went there and offered that compassion, because in this case, the person close to me is someone who I think needs that compassion. And I think that a part of me wants to believe that something magical happens when I do this practice. When I imagine this person being healthy, being peaceful, being happy, I really do imagine them in this kind of ideal place, in this ideal state. And I genuinely hope that it's true, right? I genuinely hope that something magical happens, even though I know that there's nothing magical that's coming out of my brain, and and giving this person a better life or a better situation. But yeah, I think that was it was interesting just to see that. Thank you. Thanks, Siffy. Siffy says, it wasn't easy to focus. And it was, it wasn't there, but I tried. And that's okay. Alexa says, it was hard today. A lot of things around me today that kept my mind wandering. So keep it up. And also, I think these self-compassion practices are different than what I tend to lead, these meditations that I tend to lead. And one of the reasons for that is of course because it's different to cultivate this intentional self-compassion and compassion towards others than it is to just focus on the breath. And so this is like an additional skill, right? So this doing this compassion practice already has some assumption that you're able to do the mindfulness practice, that you're able to observe yourself. And I think that's why I spend more time on these live events doing raw mindfulness practice, because it really is the foundation that the house is built upon. So, we do that because it can be harder to do the rest of this. And that's, as we do these compassion practices, you'll see that the farther you reach out away from yourself, the harder that gets too. So, start with a good friend. The next step is a stranger. Is it possible to bring kindness to someone that I don't know? And then what about an enemy? Someone that is challenging for me. Like, how does that part of the practice go? So all of these build on each other. So it's really mindfulness at the very ground floor. Then when it comes to compassion, the next step is compassion towards self, recognizing the common humanity that I have between myself and every other human being. And then a good friend, because that commonality is easiest to see in this space of the good friend. And then as we move farther outwards, is it possible to see, to have loving kindness for a person who isn't, who isn't that close to me? So someone who's a stranger. You see that as we go outward and outward, this is harder and harder. I'm going to see if it's possible for me to put a link to one of my compassion practices. I think the only stuff that I can put up is premium tracks. They only let me do premium tracks. All right, so let's see if this works. I'm going to try to do the self-compassion. See if I can put that up. No, of course. I can't do it. Can't do it on the fly yet. I guess I can give you. I can post like a follow me. I think the when it comes to if you want to do the practice, there is a free track that I have. I can at least post the name of it. I think this is the best. The best one is the one I'm about to post here. Loving Kindness Heartscape Meditation inspired by Jon Kabat-Zinn. So if you listen to that meditation and you do it often, that's one that can really help to cultivate this external compassion towards others. So if you're interested to keep doing this work that we've been working on today, that's the one that I would encourage you to try. So if you've never tried that one, that really is starting at the base of self and moving outwards to each of the other objects until we get out to compassion for every sentient being in the universe. It's a fun one to try, honestly. Love and light, Siffy. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks Julia in Cape Town also. That's is it just a coincidence that both of you are from Cape Town? Thanks Oli in Brazil. You had one before you're live for 10 minutes. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. it's time for me to go. What we're going to do next time is about equanimity. So, and it's important to understand as we've been doing the training wheels for practice. So, what's the benefit of taking off those training wheels? So, looking forward to sharing that with you and to talk a little bit about this very important piece of meditation practice when it comes to self-building and self-improvement, which is equanimity. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sippy, for all your great encouragement. It's always a pleasure to have you. Let's do one more, sending our well wishes to ourselves and to others before we say goodbye. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all sentient life throughout the universe, everywhere, may everyone everywhere be happy and peaceful. Thanks so much. See you on Tuesday, Singapore time, or maybe that's Monday night for you. Take care. Bye-bye.